The school was closed. It was sold to private property. The Torres family bought it. A guy named Ralph Torres was living in the schoolhouse. Ralph stored hay in his schoolhouse. Ralph also cooked in his schoolhouse. And guess what happened? The hay caught fire when he was cooking one day, and the thing burned, so that the beams caved in, and the floor burned away, and the walls, there were only several that were remaining, adobe walls. So this is what it looked like when I first came out here when I really stayed then, in 1980. And in 1982, the schoolhouse was, I learned, for sale. And so I called the guy. I got the guy's name from Margie Quintana, and I called him up in Portales, New Mexico, Faustin Torres. And I said, I would like to buy the schoolhouse. I understand you own it and you're selling it. He says, oh, he says, I don't want to sell just the schoolhouse. I'm selling all the property. I'm selling the house lots. I'm selling the agricultural land. And I said, well, I don't want to buy all of it. I just want to buy the schoolhouse. And he says, oh, well, I can't do that. He says, now, maybe, you could talk to somebody else who I'm going to sell this to, and maybe they could deed off the schoolhouse to you. I said, well, who's interested in buying it? He says, well, I've been talking to this guy, John Burns. I says, great, I know John Burns. So I call up John and I say, John, I want to buy the schoolhouse. He says, we'd like to sell it to you. We don't have enough money to pull off this deal from Torres. And if you could take the schoolhouse, we'll just deed it off to you separately. So I did, and of course I asked Brock, if I buy that schoolhouse, are you going to be in on this with me, buddy? Are you going to be my brother on this project? And Brock said, yep, and sure enough, he's here all the time, every year, never fails, all those field trips. So Brock and I really became partners in doing the schoolhouse. And every summer, I'd kind of, call Brock up, or maybe it was at AAG meetings in the spring, and I'd say, Brock, now look, are we going to get out there this summer, and we're going to start, kind of, reconstructing that schoolhouse? And, oh man, I got too much going on. I'm going to be going to Washington, D.C., the NCGE or whatever. And then I'd have my excuses, oh, I can't do it this. So it got put off from 1982 until 2004 when I retire. And I say to myself, if it's ever going to happen, we better do it now because I'm going to be dead. And then it'll never happen. So in 2005, no more excuses, that was the first of the major reconstruction years. So 5, 6, 7, 8, this is the fourth of those, phase 4 I'm calling it. And we've gotten quite a ways along, and it's a wonderful project. And a lot of people ask me, well, why are you doing it? And I have 2 stock answers. Answer number 1, we want to build a schoolhouse that can be left to the community so that they will have a place to meet for their ditch association or whatever. It'll be a community resource. So at some point, the ownership will transfer out of my hands and it'll go to the community. That's the intention. And before that happens, we want to put some maps up on the wall and some air photos and maybe other things that are about the history of the village that I've gathered and others have gathered at the archives and so on, so that people will appreciate the village all the more because here is some of the evidence of what happened. Photos of people, that kind of thing. So that's why we're doing it. And the second reason I want to do it is I want to try and set an example. We are reconstructing the schoolhouse. If you've seen pictures of what it looked like in 1941, it looks very much the same. It's the same foundation. We're going up with the walls from the same footing. The doors, you could tell in the foundations just where the doors, in the stem wall, just where the doors were. And those doors are exactly where they were. And we think the windows are. And the pitch of the roof is right. And yeah, there are going to be things that are different. We're going to have electricity. We're going to have water, neither of which the schoolhouse had. No electricity, no water back then. Well, we're going to modernize to that point. But we're trying to build the schoolhouse as close as we can to what it was like, so that we set an example for, this village is worth preserving. And let's not tear things down and ruin it. Let's, if we do anything, reconstruct the way it was. And here's an example of how it could be done. The value of the village of El Cerrito is that it's a window to the past. It's well preserved, and it's a beautiful window to what things were like. I've been teaching historical geography for many years, and I can tell you, you can't go back in time. Nobody can go to the past. It's impossible. So the next best thing to being able to go back into the past, the next best thing is to find something that's well preserved and then study it and kind of get some clues as to what it was like in the past. This is as close to the past as you can get to find some area that's well preserved. So my pitch is, this is a window on the past and is definitely worth conserving and treating with respect.